So that's why we have today's session. And of course, before we really start, just a little bit of disclaimer that copyright is all reserved, okay? And please don't duplicate whatever discussed here without the approval. And of course, buying a property or investment or for own stay, it's a big commitment, okay? So that's why please do good research, financial stability, and also talk to salesperson before you make a decision to invest in the real estate here. So the title earlier on that you saw in the EDM, it wasn't the initial title that I wanted to introduce for tonight here, okay? Why that I have this concept of sharing for today is because lately, I have been thinking a lot of questions regarding the Singapore real estate market. No doubt, I have been in this industry for 20 years, especially as a salesperson. There are certain questions that keep bothering me. So tonight, actually, the main questions is actually meant for myself, which I have been trying to search for answers. And that is why that I'm sharing with all you guys for today here to see that my personal opinions maybe can fit into what you have been searching as well, which means that some typical questions that has been bothering all of us from a buyer's point of view. Okay, so that's why today I'm not selling property. Today, I'm just like yourself. I am actually a buyer. In fact, I'm really looking for another property for investment. But I do not know whether should I do it or shouldn't I do it. So I sat down and think through the whole process. So what are the things that are bothering me? Okay, as Vicky has just mentioned earlier on, I myself are also actually in charge for overseas properties. So we brought properties from overseas like Bangkok and London into Singapore, and then we launched a project and we sell to the local buyers here in Singapore here. And there are certain things that actually differentiate between the buyers for local projects and overseas project here. Okay, so that's why this is something interesting, which actually quite seldom that you heard this kind of topics in the market before. The first title or the first concept is actually the word called perception. Okay, the second word is actually condition, and the third is actually the word invasion. Okay, I think some of you could guess what I want to discuss and what actually in my mind. But perception, condition, and invasion, these three words seemingly unrelated to each other. But when I go through my mind and search for the answers, actually, to my surprise as well, they are all very closely related and interlinked, especially when we talk about property investment in Singapore. Again, be it for your own stay or be it the second, third property that you're looking for investment, I think, just like me as a layman, I also have questions that I want to address. Okay, so that's why tonight, don't worry, okay, it's a casual session here. Just go through with me the three different concepts and the three different questions and the three different answers that I have found for myself. That's why I'm sharing this with you here. Okay, the first thing is about perception. Okay, so again, when we launch overseas properties in Singapore, like let's say from Bangkok, the very common feedback from customer is that, hey, Chris, I'm not looking into buying something in Bangkok. I want the property to be in Sukhumvit area, next to the shopping mall, Central Mall, next to Siam Paragon, all these things here. Okay, this is the most common criteria that the buyer wants when they look into Bangkok properties here. Even for London, when we talk to our local Singaporean buyers here, the first thing that they ask is that, hey, Chris, I want something that is along Bond Street. I want it to be next to Big Bang. Okay, I want it to be next to the river. And I start wondering, is it that these locations will be the most suitable for investors for own use or for people to rent? And when it comes to Singapore here, the perception is that it starts to come in, which means that a lot of people would think that for location-wise, okay, of course, like real estate is about location, right? When it comes to location-wise, a lot of the buyers will think that this location is suitable for certain group of people. Certain location is a no-no zone, means that people will not buy, people will not rent. Of course, being 20 years in the industry, which I'm still learning, okay, things change. Okay, maybe 50, 40 years ago, the location could be something else. But nowadays, in the current market, things has changed. Okay, so the meaning of perception, of course, it is something that is quite easily understood, which means that it is something that from experience or we listen to what people say, we form a concept, we form an idea, okay, and we perceive that this is what the thing is supposed to be like. But however, okay, we give you a few of examples. Okay, let's go back, come to Singapore here, okay. Is there certain locations that you think is good, certain location that you think is bad? Okay, I'm not going to ask this because this is a Zoom session. Usually I do this with a crowd of a real audience, which is like a physical audience here, but I can't do this. So you just think yourself, is there a certain location that you think is very good, very nice, that people would love to stay there? And certain location is no, you know, I think that this location, no one will stay there ever. Okay, so this is my example. That's why I just want to share this with you. The first place that I think about is, of course, closer to Piccadilly Grand, okay, Little India. Okay, so to most people, okay, what we think about Little India is that it is a very congested place. Yes, true enough, a lot of traffic, a lot of people, a lot of buildings. It's a place that a lot of people thought that there would be a lot of foreign talents, especially over the weekends, okay, that people do not, like Singaporeans don't like to go there because it's a lot of foreign talents that is happening because they are buying groceries, they're hanging around in the location there, okay. To some Singaporeans or some investors in Singapore, we think that it could be a location that is very difficult to find tenants because of the environment there. And if I have a property there, in the future, it could be very hard to do resale. Okay, which means that I do not have a good exit strategy that I talk about because my property is in Little India. Okay, another nearby place that most people will have this will perceive this location is Bencoolen. Okay, which is not too far from Little India area. And when I go to Bencoolen, the first thing is the temple. Okay, there are a lot of temples. Okay, be it Chinese temple, Hindu temple, and then there are churches as well. And there are a lot of old buildings in the surrounding there. Also very congested. It's something like not so appealing, okay, to be a good area to live in, okay. And then because it is also the civic center of Singapore, which we have schools, which we have art institutions, we also have universities around there. So it's an area that have a lot of students that hang around there. Some people like it, some people may not like it, okay, because people find it that it's very crowded in the certain times of the day, okay. And if you ask most Singaporean or people that live in Singapore, what is the most prestigious place that we can find in Singapore? Of course, Orchard. Okay, no doubt. Orchard, to most people, how we perceive Orchard is that it is a very luxury, high-end area. You know, the wealthy people, the ultra-rich people will live in Orchard area. And then because so many, this Orchard Road is so well known around the world, when tenants want to come to Singapore, the first place they want to choose to live in will be in Orchard. And because of this, because a lot of people want to rent in Orchard Road area, and Orchard area will get very good rental return. Okay, so these are some of the locations that I myself perceive for the location in Singapore here. Okay, but somehow after I did my research with data, okay, there is a lot of misperception, okay, which like more like an illusion that we like to tell about ourselves about this. And looking at these slides here, I know some of you are looking from a camera, from the handphone, okay. Even this, you don't see what is wrong with these slides here. Can you tell what is wrong with these slides here? Okay. A tiny word of wrong spelling, okay. Sometimes we just overlook, okay. The wrong spelling is like something that we overlook in our real life scenario when it comes to real estate, okay. That's why I do find that sometimes talking to people that is very veteran or have a good knowledge in real estate, it helps a lot in making decision in investing or buying a property. Okay, so why I have a surprise to myself even is that there are so many properties in Singapore. I am not monitoring all the condos that we know. But because of today's topic as well, and before that actually finding the answers, I found out that a few condos, a few developments that we used to have problems selling, okay, like a long time selling because of the how people perceive the location, helps me in today's research here. First thing, in this vicinity, same thing, which is Kitchener area, which is Farrer Park area, there is a condo called Sturdy Residences. Okay, in fact, I personally was very heavily involved because I was one of the sales director in charge for the project as well. During that time, this development took a long time to sell, okay, because it is very near to Farrer Park MRT station, which is walking distance, and also walking distance to this City Square Mall, okay? And same thing, which I just mentioned earlier on, because of the location, a lot of people do not like this area and they don't think that this is a good area to invest in, okay? So this is one of the newest development that completed in this location, which is Little India Farrer Park area there, okay? And let me show you the pricing movement and the rentability later on, okay? This is actually the price movement chart. Okay, you see that there are two charts here. The one on top is actually a polynomial chart, trend chart, which is actually a easier way for us to look at the whole trend. And the below is a monthly sales transactions average price chart. Okay, so since first day of launch, which is in 2015-16 until today, okay, you look at the movement of the charts here. Okay, it has been enjoying a very consistent uptrend in terms of the selling prices. And these are based on the average monthly sold prices. Okay, so which means that these are transacted prices on the average. Okay, and during the time, a lot of people said that, hey, Chris, this location, I don't think that there's a good potential. Okay, even I put here, I may not see the return. But it is proven wrong because this location here, which is 30 residences, it has achieved one of the highest per square foot. Okay, even now after the latest cooling measures, which is in January this year, the highest per square foot reach was 1,991 per square foot. Okay, and look at the price trend chart. It is actually a very even, okay, and also uptrend chart since the date it was launched. Okay, so this is sturdy residences. And if I look at something that is a little bit older, okay, which is also a walking distance from the Farrer Park MRT, which is actually right next to the City Square Mall. It is called City Square Residences. Why I have this strong impression about this development is because during the time, I was heavily in charge in City Lights condominium, which is a leasehold project, and City Square was a freehold project, but we couldn't really sell it because of some conflict of interest by the projects. But however, City Lights, City Square, same thing again, we had a hard time selling this project, okay, because of the location as well. Okay, of course, this is a bigger project. It has about more than 900 units, and this is a freehold development right opposite of City Square Mall. And if you look at, again, the price trends chart here, same thing, the polynomial and also the monthly average transaction prices here. Again, okay, it also enjoyed a very healthy uptrend from the date it was launched in 2006. Okay, and this development, because it is right next to the City Square Mall, we usually see a very fast turnaround of tenants, which means that one tenant move out, the next tenant actually secured the same unit already. And we also see a lot of transactions of sales as well, okay, because of the location, okay. And again, for the property owners that bought during the period initially, okay, those who choose to believe in this location, they actually make a very good rental gain and rental yield and also capital gain. Okay, so these are the two projects that is in the same vicinity. One is freehold, one is leasehold but newer. And Carrisdale, which is right opposite of sturdy residences, as you know, it's walking distance to City Square Mall as well. Okay, this is a leasehold property, and this property development had a very hard time selling that period of time. Okay, again, this is a 400 plus units, a mid-sized project. Completion is in 2005. But if you look at the price trend, if you notice that over at the beginning, okay, which is about 2003, 2004, 2005, the sales was bad. Okay, because of the market condition and because of the location there. The time there's no City Square Mall where people do not know, you know, there is such an amenities that is coming in soon here. But again, if you look at the whole price trend, it also enjoys a very healthy and consistent uptrend in the past almost 20 over years, 10 over years of TOP time period, you know, from the first day of sales until 2022. Okay, and this development Carrisdale, okay, because it has a bigger unit is there, so it tends to attract better families, like they want to rent a bigger place for their family to stay, and also a lot of foreign expats, as in like from European countries, from Japanese countries, they love to rent this place here. That is the reason why, if you notice that Don Don Donki also opened a very big outlet in City Square Mall. Okay, this is because of the local demand in that area there. Okay, so to me, that after I did some research of the nearby condominium in that surrounding there, to my surprise that, hey, actually those condos that we had a hard time selling, actually all the owners there are very happy. Okay, in contrast, property that is in Orchard. Okay, of course, they are different development has different price trends. Okay, but these are the more popular projects that are actually in the market. That's what I bring up as the discussion for topics here. This is just my personal opinion, but of course you can talk to us more for this. OUE Twin Peak is a very beautiful development. I personally love it a lot. Okay, because of the facilities, the swimming pool, the sky gym, the sky garden. It's a very, very luxurious and full of lifestyle project here. Okay, it is a leasehold project, 400 over units, and then the completion is in 2015. If you look at the price trend of OUE Twin Peak, okay, of course, look at the below one, which is the more average prices transacted versus the polynomial trend there. It had, I think it's quite obvious. It had a downfall of the price, you know, from high to low, and then it picked up again in 2017, and then from there it comes out again. And in fact, in January 2022, it had reached one of the lower price for this development there. Okay, and this is right in Orchard, and this is one of the newer development that completed in Orchard not too long ago. Okay, so of course, there are many factors that make this development have this issue of the price trend here. But it actually makes me realize that, hey, Orchard properties, not all are enjoying a very good return. Okay, so it depends on the development they're looking at. Another popular project that is also in the Orchard Road, District 9. Okay, so by the way, just now the earlier project, those are in District 8, and District 9 is actually quite nearby to each other. Okay, so District 9, there's a project called Scott Square, which is a mixed development project. Okay, it's a freehold, 300 over units, completion in 2011. Okay, so it's fairly new in Orchard vicinity here. And below, of course, there is a shopping mall. There's also restaurants. Okay, and if you look at Scott Square's price, it is like a U shape. Okay, it was high, it came down, and then it went up again. So the owners that bought earlier on and now, okay, most of them finally they break even. Okay, in this since 2008 to 2022, because some of them who bought high at the time now finally break even. Of course, those people who bought low during the period of 2015, they already start to make a very handsome gain. Okay, because Scott Square is one of the most rentable properties in Orchard Road area. Okay, yeah? So that's why when you look at the sale transaction, it is very interesting to know more about the perception that we used to have, you know, for certain locations here. Okay, this is selling price. Let me show you the rentability of the district that I just talked about. This is actually District 8, and the highlighted is actually the few properties that I just mentioned to you. Sturdy Residences, Carrisdale, City Square Residences, Uptown. If you notice, the volume of rental in the past 1 year, okay, like 100 over units for Sturdy, 45 units for Carrisdale, 46 units for Uptown. Uptown is a brand new, the latest condo that is TOP in this location here. And City Square Residences, it has 309 transactions of rental units in the past 1 year, which is a very, very healthy and good comparison. Because if people said that because it is in Little India and cannot rent out, it is actually proven wrong, that actually the rentability is very, very good for this area here. And how about the rental yield? Okay, so with the rental price and the current prices, so on average for Sturdy Residences, we're looking at about 3.4% rental yield. Carrisdale is about 3.2. City Square is about 2.6. And Uptown is actually about 3.9. Okay, and in Singapore, current properties that you can get a good rental yield is in the average of 3 to 4%. Okay, for the current market, current price, this is the kind of good rental return that we're talking about for Singapore here. And Uptown, because it is new, okay, it also has some commercial in its component there. That's why new have commercial. It has actually a 3.9% rental yield. Let's go to look at District 9, which is the Orchard that some of us thought that, okay, things that it will have a very good rental return because of the location, Orchard shopping mall, restaurant, everything here. Again, I highlighted some of the more popular ones like Scott Square, Kingdale Plaza, which is something, a very old development there, but huge unit. So some tenants would love to rent the area there. Scots 28, which is along Scots Road, okay, which is a walking distance to the Google Park Hotel. And then 21 Angular Park, which is one of the newer development that completed right behind Wheelock Place. It's a very good location there, okay, and MRT just below. And again, Orchard Road, of course, being Orchard Road, you do get to see that there will be some transaction volume, quite healthy, like 119 units for Scott Square. Kingdom Plaza, even though it's so big, but 35 units because it is something quite old, okay? And then Scott's 28, 46 units, and 21 Angular Park, which is 13 units. I think what is more interesting to note is the rental yield on the average for this development here, okay? Scott Square, we are looking at about 2.1%. Kingdale Plaza is 1.6%, Scott's 28 is 2%, 21 Angular Park is 1.9%, okay? So that's why when people ask us as an agent or ask me, what is the average rental yield for Orchard area, the prime area, is about 1 to 2%, versus in maybe a suburb or city area or not in a prime Orchard area, it's actually 3 to 4%. So this makes us think, why so special, huh? Okay, because I'm also a buyer. By the way, I myself also have property in Orchard, okay, which I know this is the fact. But because, not saying that you cannot invest in the Orchard properties here, because it's a catered for different group of people, okay, which means that Orchard Road property, yes, sure enough, the prices are much higher, the units are also big, and the quantum is also high, okay, and it attract the more wealthier people to live in the location in Orchard area, okay. But when the market turns around, okay, and the market goes up, we have seen Orchard Road properties have a very great gain, okay? But it's all about when you invest into this, okay? So that's why the perception of good could be bad. The perception of bad could be good, okay? So this is something that I want to highlight to you guys, because I have been looking into this myself, where to invest in my past 20 years of real estate career in Singapore here, okay? And if you talk about perception and illusion, just something that I want to share with all of you here. Certain location we perceive as not good, it turned out to be very good. Certain design or concept of the development, okay, to certain people you think that it is not good. Like for example, dual key. Okay, some people would think the dual key is something that is bad. But it's also proven that a lot of development with dual key actually have a lot of good rental return, okay, because the can rent out as two. So concept like this. Amenities. Certain people think that a development without amenities, like no tennis court or the pool is very small, will have very little return, but some of the project is proven wrong. The entry price, okay, some people think that now is not a good time to buy yet, okay, because they thought that the price is high, but actually in the future it could be even higher. And the market condition, some people think that now is not the time to enter, but it was proven wrong. So that's why I know that a lot of the buyers like you or me, okay, we think that we want to be a DIY buyer, okay? But certain data, certain experience, we can't get from online. You have to talk to a real person that actually every day doing this research and monitoring the market, okay? So that's why, please, if you want to make a big commitment to buying a property, let's talk to some property real estate agent. I think some of you were invited by our teammates in ERA. So that's why it is good that you give them a call and talk to them, have a coffee chat, and then understand the market more. So this is the first concern that I usually have about perception of the location and price trend or things like that. That's why I share this with you specifically, okay? Now, the second concept, okay, is actually condition. I think that while looking at this thing, you have no idea what I'm going to talk about, okay? What kind of condition is Chris talking about? Okay, not talking about hair conditioners, it's a condition. Okay, so just now, we'll look at the perception, is micro, which is the location in Singapore. But when I look at condition, it's actually a bit broader, which is Singapore itself. What kind of condition are we in now? Is it the right time to buy? Is it the right time not to buy? This is the same question that I ask myself constantly. Okay, so I try to give you some answers, but these are my personal thoughts, by the way. Okay, so a beautiful Singapore. Okay, when I stand in front of MBS looking at downtown, it is really beautiful. And 20 years of real estate career, okay, I think my life, whatever asset I have, it has to do with real estate in Singapore. But I just noticed one thing. Singapore real estate market, it wasn't like this all the time. Okay. In fact, I did enter the market, okay, which is like a winter snow period in Singapore. I think most of you who just started looking into properties market in Singapore, you never know that how bad was it during the winter time of Singapore. Winter time, like snowing, sorry, not the real snow. It's like the very loud period of real estate market in Singapore. That's why I just want to bring you back to a little bit of history. What happened before today? If we go back to 1968, this is where the time the government of Singapore, they try to encourage Singaporeans to own a property. Okay, so by doing what? The CPF implement the public housing scheme for home ownership. Okay, the beginning of educational for Singaporeans to own property. Okay, then of course in these are some of the highlights only. 1988, in order to encourage more Singaporeans to buy property, you can use 100% of your CPF to buy a property. No withdrawal sum, nothing, no such thing during that time there. Okay, then the property prices starts to go up. In 1996, in order, the market was quite active, so the government start to do some control, monitoring of the property market here. Like for example, they start to have anti-speculation curve. They also implement the 80% financial restriction for property purchases. So our loan here start to be reduced already. Okay. They also implement things like for the developers. Okay, where the developers when they build something, they must have a timeline, like 30 months project completion period. Okay, for private developers. So the government starts to monitor and start to create a healthy environment for Singapore real estate market. Okay, then stamp duty start to impose because the market is getting hot. And then property prices fell for the first time after long 10 years of relentless uptrend. So before that was up, and then because of some measure that the government put in, the property market start to go down, which is 1996. Okay, then suddenly something happened. 1997, okay, the Asia financial crisis. I remember this very clearly because this was the time that I went to the States to study, okay, and I was hit by the drop of currencies. It was badly hit. And because of this big financial crisis, the Singapore market was also being affected. So the government start to remove some of the 30,000 cap, okay, reversal of this, which is a part of the reversal of the anti-speculation curve, okay, and then they try to do measures like to encourage people to buy property again, okay, and then the seller's stamp duty was suspended. I think you also wish that this is the time period where we all bought some properties there, okay, but it wasn't the end of the story yet. In 1998, okay, the market was still very bad, okay, and then the government starts to do some property tax exemption. No need to pay property tax, okay, and then even the seller's stamp duty was deferred for buyer for uncompleted project until TOP. So I think a lot of you guys, even myself, I couldn't remember all these things here because this has happened before, okay, for the government to make sure that to boost up the real estate market here. And again, in year 2000, this was the year of the millennium where we were trying to say that with the computer crash around, tax exemption, okay, was withdrawn, okay, because the property was start to recover a fair bit, okay, and then a lot of the measures were trying to adjust by the government, be it HDB or be it private property, be it CPF or be it loan. Everything was doing a lot of adjustment here. So it was something new that government interfere and try to do some control in our real estate segment here. And then again, another thing that happened year 2021, which is the bubble burst of the .com crisis, okay? And again, very sad thing on that same year that the 9/11 of the World Trade Center happened, okay? And then the whole market came down again, okay? It cooled down again. So the government at the time was trying to do a lot of things, okay? And for example, I remember we used to have like a deferred payment scheme. And then we used to have a lot of encouragement for Singaporeans to use CPF to buy property. Loan LTV was very good, so we can borrow a lot of money to buy properties here. But if we look into the segments of the detail of what happened and causes the government to react, many times it was due to external factors like the Asian economic crisis, the .com, the World Trade Center, all these things here. Okay, so the government have to react to make sure that we maintain a very healthy and sustainable real estate market here. Okay, so but what is happening now? Okay, I think if I bring out this graph here, this chart here, everybody will know this is now, and this chart is not so new because for real estate segment or agent like us, we have been memorizing this chart for a long time. But this is the updated chart, okay, which is by SRX, okay, which is at the end of 2021, which is last year end in November. In December, the government implemented some extra measures as well. I know it's very small, okay, so you can ask for our agent for this chart here. And if you look at this whole cooling measure, do you know how long it has been? Okay, it has been 12 years, which means that half or more than half of my real estate career is during this period, which is the cooling measures period. Okay, interesting, right? So long, it has been 12 years. And if you look at the black color, blue color, green color, red color, it represents different type of cooling measures being implemented. For example, of seller stamp duty to buyer stamp duty to LTV, which is loan to valuation ratio, to MSR, which is like NTDSR, like total debt service ratio, all these things here. Okay. Of course, throughout these past 12 years, the government initially trying to implement something and see the reaction of the market. If it doesn't work, then the government implement another set of new measures. That's why you see that from the beginning of the chart here, the prices still increase, okay, until about 2013, it stabilizes because the time there is the additional buyer stamp duty being implemented. Then it came out a little bit. Then after that, in 2017, the property prices start to go up. I think remember government tweet a little bit, like relax a little bit, but it started to go up. So every time when the government tweets something, like to us it's like insignificant, but the property market shoot up again, even faster. Why is it so? Okay, there is a reason, because the buying demand, okay, the urge to buy something has been so strong, not just from Singapore itself, also from abroad. Like people come into Singapore, be it PR or foreigners that want to live in Singapore, or foreigners who want to have their assets in Singapore to preserve wealth. All these things have been happening for the past 10 years, especially. Okay, so because of this, we are in a very unique situation. Okay, which is, to me, it's like a pressure cooker. Okay, so pressure cooker, what is the function of a pressure cooker, or how does it work? Okay, I think I have to ask the housewife or some of the very good chef here, which is the house husband. How does the pressure cooker work? Okay, because you put a lid to a pot, you heat up, the inside pressure increases, it speed up the food, it penetrates the meat better, okay, it cook faster, as simple as that. So to me, current situation is like a pressure cooker, okay, which means what? Which means that the buying demand is so strong, but the government cannot do anything, because without a pressure cooker or put a lid onto it, we will not be seeing today's per square foot. I know you and me, I also complain why the per square foot nowadays are so high. I have the same feeling, because I used to buy property that was what, 400 per square foot, 500 per square foot, and now easily is 1,000 plus, 2,000 plus per square foot. Orchard property, it was only at about, the highest the time was 1,002 per square foot, and now Orchard property is selling at 5,000 per square foot. But this is with the lid on, which is with the pressure cooker. But without this, I tell you, if you can look at Hong Kong. Hong Kong is a very good example of do not have a very good lid on. That's why you look at the prices for Hong Kong properties there. Okay, so what does a pressure cooker did? Okay, the pressure cooker, okay, is actually created an environment. To me, I created this term here called artificially suppressed. Okay, means that it is artificially controlled, press it down, not due to the real demand and supply. Okay, because the demand was so strong, if you don't do anything, it will go haywire for our real estate market, which I also do not want. I think you also do not want, because first, it could be you cannot buy because the property is so expensive, or if you are a property owner now, your property prices could collapse because of a big bubble that was burst. Okay, so that's why it was artificially suppressed here. But what does a pressure cooker do to our real estate market here? It actually the cycle has been shortened. Like pressure cooker is faster, so it has been shortened. The ups and downs are more volatile, okay, and very reactive to the market. Like when the government did something, be it a cooling measures or remove something, some tweak, it's very reactive, okay. But if it have a new implementation of a cooling measures, it may come down, but it was very short-lived. I mean, you can look at all this from the charts here. It is very short-lived, and it will bounce back again, okay, because the demand was so strong. And what a bit of extended is that some people will ask me that, hey Chris, when do you think that the government will release the cooling measures? If you look at the cooling, the pressure cooker, if you know how to use it, do you know that when it was cooking, you cannot open the lid? It will burst. Okay, in fact, it has a safety pin that you cannot remove. You have to wait until the pressure really comes down, then only you can open up the lid. Okay, and it takes a very long time. Okay, you can cook a meal in like 30 minutes, but it takes a while for it to come down, the pressure to reduce. Same thing. This is also happening into our real estate market currently. This is how I perceive it myself. Okay, and you may agree or not agree to me, but this is how I perceive it. And so far, this is what has been happening here. But on the long term, okay, a bit sidetrack. A lot of people would hope that we can open up the lid soon, okay, for real estate market. But do you know that if you want to open the lid soon, which also means that there's no pressure. And what is the pressure that we're talking about here? The demand to buy, the urge to buy real estate in Singapore. And of course, if you do not have demand to buy in real estate in Singapore, of course, there's no pressure. We do not need the pressure cooker with a lid anymore. Okay, so this is, I don't know when will this be. I also hope that you will release soon, but in contrast, I also do not hope that to happen. Okay, because when that happens, means that the market is very cool. No people want to buy property already. I think this is something that we have to have a coffee chat, then we will really appreciate what's happening now here. Okay, so now, as we know, what is the condition as of today? Property prices still at all-time high, really all-time high. I'm not joking. If you know that the news, the fresh estimates, 10.6% price increase for private property sales in Singapore in 2021. It is very, very high. This is in the condition under artificially suppressed. Okay, and of course, when I bring up this these are index from URA, okay, which is every quarterly we track our property price movement. You look at it; it is really at all-time high. Okay, it's really okay, and a lot of people start to wonder: will it go up more? Will it come down soon? Will it continue to flatten? I do not know. Do you have an answer that you want to tell me? Okay, go up again more, come down soon, and start to flatten. Okay, I mean, we are buyers. I'm also a buyer. I really hope that if I'm a buyer, I hope that if I buy now, which means that I think that the price eventually will still go up. But if I'm a seller for today, okay, why am I selling? It's because I think that the price will come down, and this is the peak already. I sell now. There is no right or wrong, because basically we do not know what's the answer. I'm not a fortune teller. I just can see what happened before and try to predict, but there is no accuracy. Because sometimes my agent asks me the question, should my customer buy or should my customer sell? It is basically a 50-50. You buy something, there's a 50% chance of the price will come down. If you don't buy something, there's a 50% chance the price will go up. Okay, so that's why we have to be quite intelligent and look at our means, which means that buy something that is affordable to us in the long term. Okay, don't look at something that is a short term. Okay, I can afford to pay this mortgage in the next 3 years, but 4 years onwards, what happened? No, that is something that we do not want clients like yourself or even myself to be in. Okay, that's why do a lot of homework and calculation. Make sure that we are comfortable, not for short term, okay, but for mid to long term purchase. That is something that would be good. Okay, this is my advice to you for today for this segment here. So in conclusion, the condition currently is suppressed, and I think I have explained enough. This is how I personally felt, okay, during this period of time. But there is something that's of course happening now, which everybody knows: invasion. I thought to talk about this word here. Invasion means war. When the first thing happened, when the war strike, of course it is something bad. I mean, we really do not hope that war happen in the whole world. Everybody is affected. People died. Okay, but it happened. So during this period, of course, being in the real estate market, I also start to ask myself, what will happen when the war happens now? Okay, so I started to do some comparison. Is Ukraine very near to Singapore? No, we are 8,000 over miles came away. We are in 2 different continents, and we are so far away. Like I myself, I have not been to Ukraine as well. Okay, but look at what happened in the current recent weeks or month. Okay, it is badly affecting our economy, and a lot of our things is happening here. So what is happening at the current moment? The most question that people ask me or ask our agent, okay, or you ask yourself, is that what is going to happen to the property price in Singapore here. Okay, but before that, let's look at some fundamentals that we know, okay, and I want to share with you. Russia, okay, will Russia go into a war with all the sanctions happening? Will it affect Singapore? Russia is one of the biggest exporter of crude oil into the world. Okay, besides that, precious metal, iron, and also some of the commodities like wheat, barley and those things is also exporting to the world. Okay, so a lot of countries, especially European countries, depends on the oil from Russia. Okay, that's why when this happened, when the sanction happened, a lot of things start to increase in price overnight. Ukraine, same thing. Ukraine is not oil, but Ukraine is corn and wheat. They supply and export a lot of corn and wheat to around the world, especially to European countries. Okay, and also they are a main producer of iron. And iron, we need iron for manufacturing, for a lot of whatever thing, a lot of iron, right? And same thing for crude oil. Actually, if you look at the oil, it is not just oil itself. There are a lot of other things that comes out. Because of the sanction, because of the oil, it worsened what has been happening during the COVID period, okay, when we locked down for the past 2 years. First thing first, the shipment has been affected, okay, because of a lot of, first thing is that the misallocation of containers and ship, okay, which means that certain containers don't know somewhere in the world, but also because there's no one to go and retrieve back all those containers and ships. The containers and ships are not enough for us to recover smooth. When we're recovering, the oil went to all-time high. So that's why there were some speculations from people is that the container per ship, okay, for some routes, it used to be maybe about 10,000 US dollar per container. It could go out to 30,000 per container. And this was one of the latest news on March 2nd, okay? And if you look at the different routes around the world, okay, from COVID time until December, later on until February, you look at how much it has increased in terms of shipment. Of course, you say that shipment has nothing to do with real estate, but for Singapore, it is particularly important. We do not have all this material. Everything has to import in. When the shipment cost goes up, our material cost also goes up. Even the material cost is the same, but because of shipment, the cost will still go up. So we like it or not, we are in not a very good situation when this thing happened, okay? Besides the shipment, okay, that is by sea. If you have the time like me, sometime at night, I like to Google where are the planes because I've not been flying for a long time already. If you go to flightaware.com, this is the live plane, and I took this just last night. The plane situation there. And you notice that there is a very big empty chunk of no plane zone, no flight zone in Ukraine and Russia. Okay, because of this, even with the plane already not enough to fly, they are trying to cut costs for flying the plane because of capacity. Okay, and suddenly a lot of airlines have to route it to different ways. It again drive up the transportation costs, not just shipment, but also for air freights as well. Okay, so that's why I think you all have read this news here. The construction cost, the material, the shipment, everything is going up. And it will drag even more for 2022, especially with the war going on here, okay? And very obviously, because of the material and construction cost goes up, this is actually a chart that BCA, the Building Control Authority, and of course, this is a private chart, which is Arcadia, which is a company, a private entity that actually does all the contract for construction, okay? This is how they track the increment of the construction costs. Exclude land, exclude data. These are purely construction and labor costs. You look at it, it has been on the higher trend since 1918. But this trend, it is still going up higher and higher because COVID is still happening, and also the war that is happening, and also the inflation that we are going on here. Okay, so oil, I don't have to say anything else. We'll look at it when you hit $140 US dollar for crude oil per barrel. Our petrol pumps start to go up. But please, you have to know, petrol pump oil prices is a fraction of what we encounter. Do you know that everything that we use as a plastic all comes from crude oil? Okay, so the oil, even the makeup also comes from crude oil. So the function of crude oil is a lot, and it goes down to our daily life. From petrol pump to your makeup, everything is crude oil. And because of the cost has gone up so much, everything has to go up in prices really. Okay, so I just, sorry, I've got a time restriction. I just have to show some samples of this. construction cost goes up, shipment cost goes up, labor cost also goes up. I mean, you know, for Singapore here, crude oil prices goes up, even services also goes up. But the two things that I haven't mentioned yet is actually interest rate and inflation. These two things, of course, if you know, the inflation for Singapore, okay, it is high. In fact, it is one of the highest that we have seen. It's at 4% now. Okay, and because of the Ukraine and the Russia war, and all the things has gone up, it actually pushed us into a hyperinflation situation here, which is a very difficult situation for any country to control, okay, especially for Singapore, where we need everything to be imported. That's why it's very, very crucial for us to make sure that our economy is doing well for us to counter this, okay? And because of the inflation, a lot of the savvy investors are trying to look for some assets to hedge against inflation, and they're looking into tangible assets. And true enough, real estate is actually a form of tangible assets here, okay, because we can so-called hedge against inflation. That's why we do see that there's an increment of people looking for properties during this period of time, okay? So besides what is happening there, interest rate is something that already started to happen after a few years of Fed trying to increase, not increase. But this is done by our ERA's research and consultancy. We don't have our own in-house here. If you look at this chart here, the blue color line is actually the 3 months compounded SORA, okay? And the red color is actually the transactions residential volume in Singapore here. So when people talk about interest rate, usually people talk about when interest rate goes up, the property volume will come down because it is more expensive to go and take a loan and to buy a property, okay, or to service a loan for the property that you have here. So people may start to sell the property here. But of course, there are many other factors. But when I look at this chart here, the interest rates, when it goes up, our volume, it goes up. Okay, like for example, 2005, 2014 to 15, 21.7, okay, 1617, 2020, 2021. Okay, which is very interesting. When the interest rate goes up, our volume also goes up. And when the interest rate comes down, which is like the period from 2009 to 2013, the volume is even higher. It's a little bit not logic, but this is what is happening in Singapore. Okay, it could be because of how our Singapore is, you know, also because of some cooling measures, because of the situation here. It tend to be happening in this way here. Okay, but of course, interest rate is something that we have to monitor closely because that is our monthly installment. Okay, how much we can afford to pay for the loan is something that we have to really calculate correctly. Okay, the reason why that this is happening is because when interest rate goes up, usually it's because of the inflation is high. So government trying to use this interest rate to control the inflation. But when inflation goes up, it also means that the economy of the country is doing well. So be it Singaporean, we love to save money, okay, for rainy days, like we have a lot of savings here. So I think that triggers a bit of different reactions when we have interest rate go for Singapore here. But please be careful, okay, because it's not happening all the time here. That's why please check your income status and your finance before you make any purchase in real estate. Okay, this is my advice to you. I do not want you to get into financial issues here. Okay. Then, if you look at the wars, there are many wars that's happening. Okay, wars with the Singapore real estate property price trend here. So if you look at this chart here, 2021 to 14, we have the Afghanistan war. Then Iraq war, 2003 to 2011. Okay, I read out because some of you cannot see because it's very small. Then 21-4, we have a Syria war that is ongoing, Yemen war that is ongoing here. But if you look at when there is a war happening, okay, there will be some uptrend, some downtrend, okay, but there are a lot of uptrends in this war period. If you look at it, especially the more prominent one is actually the Iraq war. I think we all still remember this for the Iraq war here, okay? The prices gone up a lot, okay? And then even the Yemen war, also the prices has been going up. But for Singapore, we are not so much affected by wars around the world in other countries, but we are more affected by the global financial crisis, which happened in 2008, and also the cooling measures that happened in 2013. Okay, so this is something that our research department did some research that I just want to share with you is that it is very interesting topic that we can look into here. Okay, and the property prices sales volume, yeah, which is represented in the red color blocks here, versus the WAR as well. Just now, the one is actually property price. This one is actually the sales volume. Okay, if you look at this, the 2021 Iraq War, Afghanistan War, Yemen War, Syria War, somehow, okay, based on the data, that during this period, the sales volume increased in Singapore, like by 30%, by 16%, by 10%. Okay, so we are still trying to understand what is happening here, but it seems like when there is a war happening here, people will still be more comfortable in buying properties in Singapore. Okay, so that's why it triggers the increase in volume here, and for property volume surge to a 17 years on average after the start of each war, which is you add up and then you divide this here. Okay, so this is what, because please remember there are many factors, okay, that triggers the property prices to go up, the volume to go up or come down. Okay, but this is what we encounter when we look at the previous data, okay, versus war versus this here. Okay, so please, this is something that we want to bring out as a discussion because I'm trying to find answers myself as well. It is something that okay, it's very interesting for us to know this factor here. But goes back to the inflation, the rise of cost, the inflation, the rise of interest rate. What do you think the future property prices will happen for Singapore here? Okay, I think this is the main questions that a lot of people ask here. I cannot predict, I cannot tell you what is happening, but from my own real feeling, okay, is that things getting more expensive, property prices will be also more expensive in the future. Okay, so which means that if you ask me, okay, what I think is that the current projects that is being launched or going to launch now, okay, because the developer more or less has secured the main con, the concept, the units, the material, all these things here. So they are able to do a pricing based on what is happening now. But for a future launch, okay, maybe 6 months, 1 year, 2 years down the road, even 3 years down the road, if all these costs still rising, then for the future development, the developer will definitely have to add in more costs into the building, okay, besides the land, okay? So that is another story. So if you ask me this is my prediction of what's going to happen. Okay, I hope that no, because I still want to buy property. I do not want the property prices to go up so much, but this is what I think personally. Okay, and looking at these 3 big words, okay, perception, condition, and invasion. Okay, it brings me to certain makes sense to me, you know, to certain how we perceive the market, property market for Singapore here. Okay, I know that today we are talking about Piccadilly Grand, especially, okay, but we do a very generic point of view from my personal research and from my personal on the ground thing, okay, because sometimes when we look at reports from banks, okay, or from certain part of the sectors, it may not be a full picture. So what I'm presenting for today is what I am seeing from the ground, okay, talking to my agent, talking to buyers, talking to developers. These are our daily conversations that brings me to have these 3 main topics that I have been asking myself. And throughout the research, I have found some answers myself. I hope you also found some answers for yourself as well for tonight here. Okay. And looking at Piccadilly Grand, okay, which we are going to launch this very, very soon. Okay? In fact, we are targeting our chauffeur to be open. Okay. And if you look at the 3 concepts that I just mentioned here, the perception, the condition, and the invasion, okay, I put the 3 ticks to it. Okay, I think you know what I mean, okay, but this is a location, okay, which I have proven that the perceptions, it could be wrong to a lot of people that bad location, but I've shown you the data that is a good one. The condition, okay, we are already in a very well-controlled situation, but yet we see the property prices to go up. Will the government release the cooling measures soon? Or will the government implement more cooling measures? This is something that we are all monitoring, okay? Invasion. A lot of people thought that when war happens, Singapore property market will collapse, nobody will buy property. But the data show me is that it is actually the opposite. Okay, so this is what is very interesting for tonight here. Okay, I know that you have a lot of questions, but don't worry, talk to your salesperson. Okay, our sales team has been fully well informed and trained up. Okay, they study very hard about the design and the concept of Piccadilly Grand. Okay, but we have very limited information now. We are giving you whatever that we have already. Okay, and as and when we have new info, we will definitely share with you as long as you are interested to know more about the projects here. Okay, so with that, I would say that thank you so much for your time for tonight here and listening from me. And it is also my pleasure to share what I have learned for myself with you for tonight. Okay, so